The basis of the law of attraction is that you can have, be, or do anything you want. And there are some people who, in their minds, believe that they're using the law of attraction to manifest money or abundance. And then there are other people who believe that they're using it to attract their soulmate, or to use the New Age terminology, twin flame. And there are others that take it further and attempt to push it to its limit. I'm talking overriding the laws of physics with your mind level of pushed it too far. Yeah. Hi and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Andy Fellows. I make videos on destructive cults, damaging norms, and just generally bad ideas. And today we're looking at the idea that with the law of attraction, anything is possible. Now, simply put, the law of attraction is the idea that like attracts like. And the people that teach this stuff, the people that believe this stuff, use a whole lot of sciencey sounding words to make what they're saying sound true. They say things like, raise your vibrational frequency and you'll attract what you want into your life. So a sentence like attracts like, or raise your vibrational frequency so you can attract blah blah blah, is supposed to mean that if you match your energy, which is typically undefined, to the energy of the thing that you want, then that thing will come to you. A high vibration is basically a good mood or a state of allowing, as far as I understand it, and it will depend and it will change a little bit based on which teacher you're hearing this from and which believer is trying to make you feel like this thing is true. But the general gist of the idea is whatever it is that you want, as long as you're in the right vibrational state, it will make its way to you through the magical power of synchronicity. Now, if you're coming from a Christian background, you might be thinking this sounds similar to ask and you shall receive. And yeah, it is really. I mean, so much of Christianity has been repackaged into the New Age. I've said that 100 times and I will keep saying it because I think it's genuinely the case. When you look at the New Age, so much of it sounds like Christianity in different words. If you mention that to a New Ager, what will probably happen is they would say that, well, they've looked at other religions and they've picked what resonated with them, what felt true, and what was true throughout all of the religions. That's kind of the thing that these people say is somewhat of a banner for the New Age, is like, there's a truth in everything and you take this and you make something else for yourself. However, the interesting thing is that the thing that when these people are effectively cherry picking from other religions and investigating them in what I would say is somewhat of a superficial way, they are typically cherry picking the same things as other New Agers. So it starts to look a lot like a religion pretty quickly. There's quite a clear through line of belief within a lot of New Agers, although obviously there are going to be different groups who believe different things. Now, there is this whole thing about the use of the words energy, frequency, vibration, and whether they mean what New Agers or people who believe in the law of attraction, which I would say maybe isn't actually exclusive to New Agers anymore, whether those words mean what they want them to mean. I don't think that they do, but that is beyond the scope of this video, and I probably need a little bit of help to unpack that anyway. But here's the thing, there are people that believe in the law of attraction that take it well past believe you'll have money and then you'll have money, right? There are people that take this way, 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 way further. I've heard no end of ridiculous things from people that believe in this. I've heard it somewhat theoretically said that a cis man can become pregnant and give birth using the law of attraction. I've also heard it posited as an explanation for immaculate conception, rather than secret with a non-angel. And as if that wasn't enough, I've also heard it said that the law of attraction means that shape-shifting is possible. Now, if the law of attraction were true in its simplest form on all levels of reality, I could see how it might explain cis men getting pregnant and I can tiger. But really, those ideas are the result of an imagination game. They're the result of make-believe. And I can hear now, I've said the term make-believe, I can feel the New Agers lining up to say, well, make-believe, there's ancient wisdom in make-believe, because if you believe it, then you can make it happen with your mind. Maybe now I've said that, that's somewhat an antidote to that happening in the comments, but we shall see. Well, the truth is actually, no, there is some ancient wisdom to that. You know, you're wrong because of this, and you need to find your path. And I just hope that one day you'll realise that atheism and materialism is a jump too far, and really there's some good things in the New Age. It is the result, though, of an imagination game. It's more the idea being taken to its natural limit in a conceptual way, in a hypothetical way, in a maybe this could happen, I would say, than it actually having happened, because, you know, these things don't happen. They don't happen. So if these things actually had happened, I don't think that the law of attraction would be a good explanation for how they happened, because it wouldn't explain any of the mechanics of it actually happening. It would just give a broad sort of overarching definition of what explanation of what may have happened. I don't think it would explain it. It would just give it some kind of mystical meaning, which couldn't be traced. We can't trace that. We can't show it because it's so vague. It's so loose and nebulous as an idea. If, like, how is it that this human turned into a tiger? Well, they believed it was possible and that made it happen. That is nothing to do with how a human becomes a tiger physically. Doesn't explain that, does it? And there's a lot of other stuff that it doesn't explain as well. So really it's a useless addition to the conversation, I would say. If we could show that the process began through the decision to become a tiger, and, you know, the allowing of the state of tiger or whatever, then maybe there's a conversation to be had. But someone would have to shapeshift first. We would have to show that it was possible, and then we would have to map out how that happened. If that were possible, then the human mind would have to have a way to rewrite or override legitimate laws of the universe, of which the law of attraction is not one, and that is just not the case. Like, there is no real reasonable reason to believe that that is the case, other than that maybe you want to believe that that's the case, or maybe that it gives you some comfort or whatever. I don't think that there's any evidence to support the assertion that that is possible, really. The human brain is capable of influencing a considerable portion of the material world, and it is capable of hashing out these complex tapestries of ideas, all of which is a result of its complexity and the way in which it regularly functions. But it doesn't possess the power through any granted or inherent specialness to override legitimate laws of the universe. It is as bound by them as anything else. These laws govern its existence as much as they govern anything else. The human brain is as subject to all of these laws as anything else. And the mind, I would say, is a consequence of the brain. And if we're going to say that the mind isn't a consequence of the brain, then we would, I would say, have to demonstrate some way in which the mind can exist without the brain. And as far as I know, we haven't been able to do that yet. And honestly, I think if we had been able to do that, it would have been breaking news. I think we would all know about it. But let's not forget, as humans, we are not the only ones who have achieved some level of mastery over our environment. We're not the only creatures to have used tools in our evolutionary history, and there are others who have diverged from us at a point of common ancestry who also show the use of tools even today. And we're not the only species capable of problem solving, of learning, of caring for others in our species and outside of it. We think of this influence over the world around us that we have as being distinctly human, but it's not. Now, we may have developed systems of language and standards of social etiquette, but we're not actually the only ones to have done that either. Okay, ours are unique, but then every species has a unique system of language and a unique standard of social etiquette within their species. They have things that they do which make them more a part of their social group or less a part of their social group. Many animals do these things. They're not unique to humans. Ours may be the most complex. It may be more complex than others as far as we know, but we're not unique in that regard. We're not alone in having done these things. We are earth creatures, and the differences between us and other earth creatures are differences of degree and not of kind. paraphrasing Darwin, I believe. Each of us has been born into a world where we are expected, and in many cases naturally inclined, towards participating in an ever-developing, exponentially complex world. And through language, we find ourselves able to communicate ideas to one another, to pass on information from one generation to the next. We're able to share ideas both novel and age-old. And all of this, all of our influence over our environment, all of the complexity of our lives, of our civilizations, of all of this stuff can be easily explained in terms that the average human can understand. It doesn't rely on vague mysticism or ancient wisdom that is somehow not able to stand up to some considered level of scrutiny. And a lot of how that influence came about can also be explained, though science, being a self-correcting system, can at any given moment only really provide us with the least wrong set of answers. And I'm paraphrasing Robin Ince when I use that phrase. And yet, thus far, in our influence over our environment, in our progression from simple creatures to complex creatures, in our development of complex civilizations, there have been gaps in our knowledge. There have been things that we didn't know, and those gaps have been filled by metaphysical ideas, by supernatural ideas. And many of these gaps have been closed up by new experiments, by new evidence, rendering, in a majority of cases, rendering mysticism inert. Still, every now and then, a new idea emerges which threatens to spread common sense notions which don't always stand up to scrutiny, dressed up as universal truth, or as is the case in more modern times, scientific fact, to the masses. The law of attraction is one such idea, and it really isn't a law of any kind, I don't believe. Still, it has found its way into people's hearts through empowering them and making them feel like anything is possible. What can't be overlooked here, though, is something that I mentioned in a previous episode of this series, something a friend of mine said to me. She said she wonders if the law of attraction isn't just one big fundamental attribution error. Following that line of thought, I can really see how a person could attribute large changes in their own personal lives and large changes in society to the law of attraction. I think if we jump straight to energy, then we're forgetting to take more practical, explainable things into account. And in an attempt to explain each person's successes and the progress of humanity as a whole with one broad sweeping belief, one broad sweeping idea, statement, assertion, we're missing out on necessary and important nuance. It's like how so many people play a part in getting food to the dinner table, you know, along the process from food being grown, let's say vegetables in a field being grown, all the way to getting them to your plate. So many people are involved, and then some people sit down and thank God for that. It's strikingly similar, I think. In some cases, a law of attraction free explanation could look like intention, planning, goal setting, fulfilling your plans and goals, and then having the thing that you set out to have. Like, none of that requires anything mystical to explain it. It's perfectly explainable in practical terms. Other times it might be an accident, or it might look like an accident, but actually be the byproduct of somebody else's plan. And the more people you have on a planet, the more likely it's going to be that someone's life is going to overlap with yours in one way or another. And if you believe in the law of attraction at the rate of chance, you may find that some of those things that happen look to you like you manifested them. However, I believe that the way that the law of attraction is supposed to work can be explained in no small part by psychology and by chance. And just think about it. When you live on a planet with so many other people living similar lives to you and have similar values to you, geographically speaking, and each person is going about their life in their own unique way, things are going to happen that are unusual sometimes. And if they match up with the things that you want to happen, and you believe that you're influencing your environment because of your thinking alone, then confirmation bias is going to set in. It's Of course it would. Now, whether or not any of this is true, your life isn't necessarily going to be hindered 100% of the time by believing that the universe is conspiring in your favor, if that is the thing that you believe. In fact, optimism based on unfounded religious assertions, new age or otherwise, may actually help a person achieve their aims more easily, or at least with less stress. But in taking a close look at the process of how anything gets done ever, I think there are nuances which stack up to substantially explain how that thing, whatever it is, happened without the law of attraction. And if we're taking the law of attraction as a purely empowering thing, which I believe it's honestly far from, then the phrase anything is possible with the law of attraction may be better stated as a lot of what is possible is also possible while believing in the law of attraction. Videos like this are made possible by my wonderful patrons, and if you enjoyed this video today, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to see more videos on destructive cults, damaging norms, and generally bad ideas. If you want to help support the channel, then the best way to do that is through Patreon. There's all sorts of perks set up for you if you decide to do that. Let me just end this video by saying this. Please be kind and ask good questions. I'll see you in the next one.